In this video, we're going to continue with this idea of writing equations for quadratics, and in this case we're going to use vertex and a point. So if I have a vertex and a point, I'm going to use this equation, y equals ax minus h squared plus k. Now what I want to do is I want to use my vertex, which is, if you remember from the last video, hk, and then my point, which is x comma y, and so I'm going to use hk, x, and y to fill in all of these values to find a. And then once I find a, I can write my equation down here. So my y value is 21. A we don't know yet, that's what we're looking for. My x value is 4. Minus h, so minus 1 squared, plus k, but k is negative 6, so minus 6. Now in order to solve this is just solving for one variable, so I need to add 6 to both sides, add 6, and so now I have 27 is equal to a. Now 4 minus 1 is 3, so I have 3 squared. 3 squared is 9, so now I have 27 equals 9a. How do I get a by itself? Divide both sides by 9, and we have 3 is equal to a. Now, the last step here is to rewrite this with a, h, and k only. We no longer need to put x and y in because we're looking for the equation, not for a specific value. So y equals 3, x minus, what's our h? 1, squared minus 6. So take a second, pause the video, do this one, and then follow along with what I've done. Now if you notice in this problem, a equaled 1, and you notice here I didn't write 1, and that's because 1 is understood to already be here. So if a is 1, I don't really need to fill that in. Now, the second example is going to be using intercepts, and a point. And so if I have intercepts, the equation I'm going to use here is a little bit different. It's y equals a x minus p x minus q, and p and q are going to be the x-intercept values, those x values for the x-intercept. And then of course x and y are going to come from the point. So I'm going to just call this p, and I'm going to call this q, and then we have x and y. Okay, so now I'm going to plug everything in. So y is negative 3 equals a. X value is 4. 4 minus p, so minus negative 3. Don't forget the parentheses. Minus a negative is different than minus a positive. Times 4 minus, in this case, 5. And so now all I need to do is solve these three pieces. So we have negative 3 equals a. 4 minus negative 3, so that's 4 plus 3. 4 minus 5 is what? 4 minus 5 is negative 1. And so now I have negative 1 times that value. 4 plus 3 is 7. So that's negative 7 right there. And so negative 3 is equal to negative 7a. Now how do I get the a by itself? Divide both sides by the negative 7. Negative over negative cancels, and so we're left with 3 over 7 is equal to A. Now, the last thing to do is just to once again rewrite this equation that I've got up here with my A, with my P, and with my Q. So that's y equals 3 over 7 x minus negative 3, because remember, my P is a negative, so I have to include that in there, and x minus 5. And that's it. So once again, pause the video here, try this one, and then unpause the video and see if you get it correct. So I'm going to go ahead and just do this really quickly. I'm not going to speak or anything. But yeah, so first thing I'm going to do, x, y, p, q. Let's see, we have negative 5 equals a 1 minus negative 4, 1 minus 0, negative 5 equals a 1 minus negative 4. Well, that's a positive, so that's really 5. And then 1 minus 0 is just 1. And then that 1 times 5 is really just 5. So divide both sides by 5. And then we have negative 1 is equal to a. Now I'm going to rewrite it using this thing up here. So we have y equals negative x plus 4 x minus 0. Now, once again, you notice I didn't write the 1 because it's understood to be 1, and also I don't have to write this minus 0 because a number minus 0 is just that number. So y equals negative x plus 4 times x. Now the last one is a specific type. If we have a table, and on this table we have 3 or more points. So we need at least 3 points in order to get a good estimate for quadratic regression. So we need at least 3, and this kind of outlines how to do this on the TI-84s or TI-83s. And so first thing you need to do obviously is turn it on, go to stat, and then we want to enter in the edit. Okay, we want to edit. Okay, we're going to plug all the x values into L and all the y values into L2, and then we hit enter, then go to stat, and then go over to calc, go down to number 5, quadreg, and that gives you 3 values, A, B, and C. And so what you're going to do is you're going to take those A, B, and C values and plug them into this equation here, and that's going to give you your quadratic function. Now, I don't have a TI-84 at home, so I would like for you to try this one, and if any of you have questions, feel free to ask and I can walk you through this. But try it on your own first. I know that this says for me to do it, but the equation we're going to use once again is y equals ax squared plus bx plus c, this equation here. And so really what you're doing is you're finding A, you're finding B, you're finding C, and so once you get your A value, A equal, B equal, C equal, once you get those values, you'll just plug them in, y equals blank x squared plus blank x plus blank. Now, of course, those could be negatives and not positives. It's based on whatever the value of A, B, and C are. So if you have questions, let me know.